America is one of the richest and abundant countries in the world, and yet us Americans are rarely ever happy. We have the newest cars, biggest houses, crazy toys like those boards you could fly in the ocean with the jet ski, crazy stuff, and yet it's just not enough. By the end of this video, you'll know how to avoid the typical American trap and actually buy happiness. This philosophy has allowed me to model in countries all over the world, avoid debt, and pursue my passion while a lot of my friends from high school are back at home in a hole that they can't seem to dig themselves out of. What's up, guys? This is the Millennials Guide to Money. My name is Brad, and let's dive in by starting off with, what is happiness anyway? True happiness comes from within. It's an emotion, it's a feeling, it's a state of gratitude that is always internal, which is why you see poor people and homeless people happy sometimes, and then millionaires and billionaires, people that seem to have it all, miserable and depressed. It's always a perspective, it's always from within. But number two, most people have not defined what happiness is to them. Instead, they've allowed society to tell them what's happy. That's why they get the nicest cars, the Rolex watches, the fancy purses, because they're saying, hey, I've never defined happiness, so society, when you show me that commercial, you're telling me that's gonna make me happy, so I'll do that. And yet it's a vicious cycle because you're not actually getting happy that way. To first understand how you can buy happiness, you have to define happiness. So get out a pen and paper and answer these questions. What was my most happiest moment in life? What was my most miserable moment? What was the happiest job I had, or the most miserable job? If money was no object, how would I spend my day? What were some of my favorite activities as a kid that I do now, and things that I no longer do, and why not? It's very simple when we start defining what happiness is. Is it living in a certain climate? I love warm weather. I cannot live in cold weather. Look at this tan, I'm like sunburned. I love warm weather, and that makes me happy. I love living in the United States and having safety and security. Those things make me happy. So it takes some time to really boil down what happiness is to you, rather than what everyone else is trying to sell you on what they want you to consider happy. Now that you have a list of what actually makes you happy, it's time to look at your income and expenses and compare, where is my money going that is not making me happy? If you find out, hey, I love traveling and I haven't been on a vacation in months, and it was just a local vacation. I wanted to go abroad again. That was the most alive I ever felt. The question is, where's your money going now that is not matching up with that? Do you have an extra bedroom in your house that you're paying a higher rent because there's an open bedroom that could be your fund for going to Europe next summer? Or are you leasing a really fancy car, but you're traveling so much for work that you're barely driving it, or you're just not finding that much enjoyment out of this fancy car when you could be using that to go out to dinner once a week because you really enjoy going out to dinner? Take a good hard look at all of your expenses, see where that's going, and see where the most happiness you could have is. Sometimes happiness could just mean I'm going for a walk every day. That could be very therapeutic and enjoyable for you. And then you realize, well, if I just cut down on this bill here, I wouldn't have to work those extra few hours, and I could actually enjoy a 45-minute or an hour walk every single day. Well, that's a great trade-off, because that work isn't bringing you happiness, but the walk would be. Now that you've found some ways to cut back on your current expenses and put it towards things that matter, it's time to actually buy happiness. You've defined it, you've found ways in your budget where you could shift some of that money, and now it's putting it towards those actual things. Now for me, my perspective is, stuff doesn't do much. Experiences, relationships, learning, all of those things is what makes me feel the most alive and the most happy. So buying things such as luggage to go on trips, Groupons for new experiences like cooking classes or skydiving, or a barbecue so you can have friends over and have a Sunday party. That kind of stuff brings me the most happiness because it's a product for an experience rather than a product just to sit there and look good or whatever else it is. But it's up to you to find the things that matter the most. I hope this has helped. Yes, you can buy happiness to a degree, but it'll always come within. Always have an attitude of gratitude, a gracious heart, and you'll be just fine. Thanks for tuning in to the Millennials Guide to Money, and I'll see you next time.